Hello, hello, hello. And apparently the sun is shining today from south. So I may have a bit of a funky light on my left side. And yeah, it's kind of like mirroring in the windows and so on. But good afternoon. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful Wednesday. I certainly have had a great Wednesday so far, though I have to say this morning I was extremely tempted to just turn around on the bed and sleep on. But I didn't. I got up and I got my work done, and here I am going to craft together with you guys today. So, of course, I do have my favorite mug of tea today. It is a classic lemon tea. And I think I did that because I'm like, it's sunny outside, it's nice weather outside. So that is definitely one of the reasons for it. So today, my plans are as following. I actually want to finish up this rib knit beanie. I only need 2 more rows, and then I need to close it off. So we are almost done. It is like, if I stretch this and pull it a bit, it's 11 inches. And it is like a double brim fold, but I think 2 more, maybe 3 more rows would kind of make sure it's going to be fine lengthwise, regardless of. And once I'm done with that, so basically I want to knit like 2 or 3 more rows in this, and then I want to close it off. I have my double pointed needles with me to do that. Then I want to continue on the Daisy Daze bag, to which I did finish. Let's see, actually I need to kind of flip it around again. Ta-ta. I did finish. Whoops, it's actually supposed to be turned like this because it's the bottom part on the bottom part. With all the double and single crochets down here. I did finish what it said in the pattern, and we do need to quickly read onto that to see if I do want to add 2 more rows to that before starting to close for the bottom. And of course, if I end up finishing that bag before I end of the live, then we have the Simple Yet Effective Cowl we can continue to knit on. I did 2 more rows on that since last time, so this is currently the progress on that. So obviously this is not much at all. Currently we are in the regular knit phase of it, but that is basically how this small piece is looking so far. That's pretty much it. So welcome everybody. Absolutely wonderful to see you. People are like pouring in. So good morning, Revenant. Good morning, Andrea. Wonderful to see you. Good morning, Susan. Good afternoon, Helen and Lisa. Wow, good morning from Mexico, or to Mexico. So I hope everybody is doing absolutely wonderful fine this Wednesday afternoon. As I said, I do have the sun from my left today. That is from south. That is from my garden side. My garden is located on the southern part of our house. And for once, it's actually sunny. And here in the winter, the sun stands lower due to how far we are placed up north. And therefore, it kind of drops a bit compared to where I'm sitting in the house. So we may sometimes have a little bit of a sunny shine on my face. Good morning, Valerie. Good morning to New Jersey. I am sure, well, Nightblood is already in here. We can always check some weather reports if you want to do. I know one thing for sure. It should say sunny here and about approximately 6 degrees, I think, is a good guess. Without being 100% sure. I am in the Netherlands for those that's curious. So for me, it is 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's Central European time. Oh, it's pretty close. So it is indeed sunny. It is 46 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 8 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from west at 4 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 76. You can get your weather if you want to by entering a weather and then a space, and then either your zip code or your city. If you're in a very small city, do try to take the closest biggest city in your neighborhood, because it's not sure that Nightblood knows all the tiny, tiny, tiny places. Anyhow, as I said, I do need to do like 2 or 3 more rows in this, and I need to close it off. And because I'm so close to finish, it's no longer really a couch project, because closing off, I'm not going to do while watching a movie for sure. So I think that would actually work fine to close that off here. So as I said, I do need about 2 or 3, probably I'm going to do 3 more rows. I do have enough yarn, and I am double stranding it. And, you know, I'm thinking once I've done those, we are going to pull out the double pointed needles and we're going to close it off. I have my 8mm double pointed needles here in a bamboo. The weather in Tihocan, no idea how that's pronounced. Anyhow, the weather for Tihocan is mostly cloudy with a temperature of 49 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 9 degrees Celsius. It is morning there, keep in mind. Mostly cloudy, and the wind is blowing from north at 2 miles per hour, and the humidity is 89. Sounds like it's been raining last night, one would say. Susan is saying good morning to Valerie and highlighting her exit location on the highway, I guess. So let's see if we can get the camera a bit down to a working location here. I am sorry that we are still working in the YouTube basic stream end, which basically means that I am still not having my streaming software working because my computer is probably getting too old. Actually, I haven't tried my streaming software for a few weeks. I know I need a new computer, and I have likely accepted that fact. It could be that there has been a common update, which since then works better. I just know that I got issues with when I had the last update for that streaming software that I'm using. So we are still on the basics. Lisa says she's up in the mountains, so it is not super hot here. That makes good sense indeed. That makes really good sense indeed. So I kind of hope that we could finish this beanie because that's like one more done, or one more project done. My needles will free up if I want to do another chunky beanie, which is, I probably should. I do definitely have enough yarns in my stash to crank out some more chunky beanies. But I should probably look at, because I did want to use some of those leftover yarns I have from Fleur. I spent 2 years working on a mosaic blanket, and I will present to you all Fleur to a bit closer narrative on Friday for Friday's yarn talk video. And I do have some of the leftover yarns for that. I was thinking of double or triple stranding to make more of these chunky rib knit beanies. This yarn I'm using right now is sort of millens from Ice. They're ice yarns. But the only thing I actually know about this yarn is that it's 100% acrylic. That's the only thing, basically. I wouldn't say it's the softest acrylic I've felt. Definitely not. It feels a bit stiff for an acrylic. So these ones I'm making right here, and I have made one already, I am likely going to donate them to people in need of something. Because even though that acrylic beanies may not be the warmest out there, I'm still sure that an acrylic beanie is better than no beanie at all. At least that's how I would like to look at it. Of course, it had been more ideal that had been wool in it. But yeah, that is not currently what I have available. So, because obviously these are scraps, I did not know what else to make from this yarn. And henceforth, I decided that some rib knit beanies would be a good way to use up these scraps or millets. So unknown acrylic yarn, which I already have made one beanie from. Yeah, and then I need to start look for my next project as well. because I will soon be done with the bag. Then I only have one project on the hooks / needles. So I will definitely be casting on some new stuff this coming weekend, I think. I need to wind up a skein into some balls for, I do want to start on the waffle chick shrug. And I also still have this this vest that I want to make, which is also an acrylic. Technically, a pattern calls for wool, but I just didn't feel like making it wool, so I found equally yarns in the same thickness in acrylic. I need to start on that, and then we are still waiting on specific yarns to go on sale on Hobbii. I checked the site, and it looks like that they used to have sales coming up on Tuesday. It looked like they have changed that to Fridays. So that was one round, and I need 2 more rounds, and then we can start closing it off. It looks like they're now doing sales on Friday, like changing what's for sale Friday or Saturday and not on Tuesdays, because one of the deals is expiring on Friday evening. So I think maybe the new deals are up Saturday, which could very well be. Yeah, I am looking and hoping that the Hobbii Twisters will go on sale, because I need that. That would be really nice. So yeah, on Friday we'll have a yarn talk video, and then on Monday you will get to see the first edition of me sorting my current stash, what's left of last time, or what's been added for that matter. And while we are sorting it, I will also be adding the yarns to Ravelry, so I get an actual clear overview of how much yarn I have in my stash, and how much working time, crafting time I have based on the yardage approximately. And thank you, Lisa, saying, please remember to give me thumbs up. Indeed, do give me some thumbs up for this live. That helps us getting some more friends in here. We could get more yarny friends. A fun thing is, and you may notice that my needles are different sizes. So my working needle is 8 millimeters, which you may be able to see here, 8 millimeters, but my holding needle here is just 7 millimeters. And that is intentionally because that makes the stitches flow a little bit easier. And I am using Knit Pro Jador Cubics, and they are some wonderful needles. The stitches really glide on this wood, so it is an absolute pleasure to knit with. I am, yeah, so I'm using a smaller size, plainly due to getting the stitches to flow a bit easier. And because I did find that moving the stitches onto the 8 millimeter working end gave me a bump here where the cable were connected, even though that there isn't a bump. But because of the difference in thickness between the cable and the actual needle, it feels like it, and it is a bit more smooth on the 7 millimeters. Plus, tension-wise, is considered to be a bit of a tighter knitter. Oh, no. Yarn on the floor. Oh. That's a challenge when you're working with these two ends, but we are progressing. That is what's mattering. And as I said, I think just after this row, one more row, and it's time to close off. I will, though, for the security measure, what I didn't do, so what I did do just before the live was I measured it, and if I did stretch it a bit, I would be at this magical 11 inches. But I don't think I should stretch it to reach the length. I think it should just be when it's relaxed, the garment is relaxed. It should be block stretched as such. But yeah, it would be really nice to finish up this, obviously, because hallelujah, that would be one more project finished. And even though we haven't had a yarn talk since forever, it feels like, at least, I can tell you that I haven't really finished many projects, mainly due to the fact that Fleur has taken up so much time. So what are you ladies working on today? Feel free to share. We are more than happy to hear, know, see, share, come with suggestions for that matter. So a part of me has been considering, what if then the twisters doesn't go on sale within reasonable time? Should I start on a different shawl or something like that? Or what should I do? There is definitely a few shawls I'd like to make. And the reason for waiting on these twisters is I'm wanting some Hobbii solid twisters to make the not the ultimate sacrifice, but the hat collector shawl, which is sort of the same concept in the sense of. And I'm looking for some of the solids to match the yarn that I will want to use for it. I also need to cake up that yarn. That is going to be some work for sure. So I have a feeling that I probably won't have any time to start on the hat collectors before at the earliest February. But I still hope that will be really nice that indeed the twisters go on sale next week. So please cross your fingers for me. Well, on Friday/Saturday, that would be nice. Right now there are twister glitters on sale, but I don't need their glitters. I need their solids. Lisa says she only got about 15 rows of her Leon hexie done. Well, but you've been busy, right, Lisa? Like, you guys are doing all sorts of good work there. So, meanwhile, Susan is crocheting 4 loveys for friend's son Eagle Scout project. Interesting. And Helle is saying she is trying to make some pot holders in a larger size. I know exactly what she is working on. She's actually doing a double knit. So it is stockinette, but she knits both front and back at the same time. So it only shows as stockinette on both sides. And that is combined with pattern, so a bit mosaic inspired, so to say. I'm pretty impressed with the fact what she can do with it. I'm not gonna copy that anytime soon, I think. I do have a few other knit projects eyed out, and one thing is for sure, I definitely will be learning more knitting skills this year compared to last year. But we will basically just have to see and take it as it goes. First of all, the main projects I have lined up is just a bunch of these rib knit beanies. I think they're nice because it uses up some yarn, and it's simple. It's good for behind the couch when you're watching TV. Which is why I should consider casting on a new one. when this one is done. It's not that I've done this quickly because, you know, I may do like, I don't know, a couple of rows and then have a break or catch up or whatever. It's not like I'm sitting and watching a 2 hour movie and I'll be knitting for 2 hours. Definitely not. But I think it's nice to have some simple project like this, or for that matter, when I was making a lot of scrunchies in the autumn, you know, that was a great behind the TV project. Definitely. So I need more of those behind the TV projects, so to say. For that matter, that could also be like the ultimate sacrifice shawl when you are further enough out, so you're doing the repeats. It's also an easy project for behind the TV. Maybe that is what I should make more of, the ultimate sacrifice shawls. It's a nice and simple, easy project. Or for that matter, even what's it called? The Varus shawl is also nice for that. So that's question. Did I do 2 rounds now? Is this my third? I have the idea I did. I don't know. That is my starting point. I'm just going to pull the needles. We're going to measure. Let's check. How much do we have? Don't forget to drink. Don't forget to hydrate in between. Hydration is important. We are at 11¼ So we are fine, actually. Time to find our double-pointed needles here. Right, they want to come out, that is, all of them. I have these 5 round squared, like they're not squared, but they are round. 8mm double-pointed needles. They are gonna serve me well. I'm actually curious how long they are. They're probably like 20 centimeters. Yeah, they're 20. So like 8 inches. For those curious. What's more for my wish list. If I need to put something on it. Maybe I would want to get some double-pointed needles, but in the Knit Pro cubics. That would be nice, actually. So, slowly. That means we're gonna knit on that. We're knitting away from that. We should probably put on an end cap to help keep track. Is my thinking. Where did I put that there? Where did I have that? No, I don't. I should have stuffed it in here somewhere. Somewhere. And these are the short versions of the cubics. So they are indeed shorties. I see actually after knitting with them, the mark for the US size 11 is almost worn off here. And this is the first project I've knit with them. I only need to know that it's an 8mm, but I guess as long as you keep them in the right location. Oh no, it's they actually do have it written also here, though it is not almost not visible in the camera. But you can just about sense that there is actually a sizing here on the metal, on the brass. Anyhow, we got the end cap on. How I feel the cubics are in comparison to the round. So these are 8mm needles, cubics, and these are 8mm in the round. The round needle does seem bigger than the cubics, but the cubics will, on the diameter diagonally, be 8mm, which is, if I look at this, is probably pretty correct. So the cubics feel slightly smaller in your hands, but what's really nice is I feel I can really hold well on them because of the cubic sizing. But actually, I feel holding pretty well on these as well because they are 8mm, so they're pretty thick. But I feel when I look at these, because these are my 4mm, these feels really, really comfortable to hold on, personally, I think. I'm not sure. So they say they're really good to people with like finger issues or arthritis and stuff like that. I'm not sure if they're necessarily better, but they do differently get a different hold on that feeling. Valerie's asking how often I go live. About twice a week on average. Usually here in this time, so around 2 p.m. Central European time, that's 8 a.m. Eastern. And then I'm live for usually 2.5, 3 hours. So this week I was live Monday and I'm live today. I will not be live for the rest of this week. I need to prepare for my Yarn Talk video Friday. And the reason for doing Yarn Talk video on Friday is point one, I do have finished a project that we should be talking about and catching up on everything. And that is sometimes easier on a Yarn Talk than just doing them live. Then also Friday happens to be my birthday. So I want to do other things, just being me, amongst things. So let's see if we can work this. How is it again? Slip, slip, knit, knit, purl, slip, slip, knit, knit, purl. Yeah. This is the first time I've actually used these and to bind off with these. So this is going to be interesting. Oh, Revenant, I love you. Don't tell my partner, he might be jealous. Oh, he's not the jealous type. Yeah, I wish I was 29 again, though. Genuinely wish I was 29 again. I'm afraid I am not. So I could maybe option to attempt a decreasing with the shorties. I just feel often that it goes very fiddly because of the cable. And when it gets too fiddly, the stitches get tinier and like stretched and pulled, and then, yeah. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Valerie. So it's as I said, that's why I'm waiting on this Hobbii birthday gift card. Hope that I will get it and hope that the things I need is on sale. And if not, then that's just how it's going to be. That is just my small hope. So we are decreasing by 1 every 3 stitches, 4 technically, every 4 stitches. And I need to remember how many do I put on? 4. So if I have 64 divided by 4, can I do that? I think I can't. Oh yeah, I can, 16. Perfect. So 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. So that means 2 more, and then we'll take the next needle. I love when math adds up. May goodness. That is rather nice. Rowan says he just keeps repeating 29 until he's right. Well, yeah, I wish it was 29 again, though. If I knew a bunch of the things I know today, and I knew those when I was 29, I can tell you there's a few things I might have done differently. Not necessarily saying I'm unhappy with the choices I've made in my life, but there are things I wish I had known before certain choices, if that makes sense. I do not regret my choices because I know the choices were the best for me possible choices at the time I made them with the knowledge I had. So in that sense, I'm content. But yeah, that's I think we all have that, right? I think everybody to some extent have choices we've made in life that we'd like to have changed. That could be choices for why didn't I ask my partner earlier if he or she wanted a relationship. You know, if you were looking at one another too long before realizing there was something more. In my case, I think it does went smoothly, so that's definitely not the issue. But you know, or did you wait too long to get kids, or didn't you get kids? Should you have gotten them? And questions like that. But most importantly, as long as we know that we made the best possible decision at the time we made the decision, I think that is what gives you the most peace and calmness of the knowledge you have. So I guess, you know, it's also a little bit of this acceptance. What can we influence in life, and or what can we change? And if you can't change certain things, you know, if sometimes you can only accept things, and you know, it doesn't help being frustrated about things you can't change. It gives us it doesn't help anyone. So, oh, this is fiddly. Come on. So there it went. I think I just didn't grab both of the tails then of this double-stranded yarn is my guess. That's usually what happens when it's fiddly. So Roman says, I'm happy where I ended up. So the journey was worth the pain. That's a good thing. I'm definitely pleased living in the Netherlands. That said, on some aspects, I'd rather live in Denmark. But I'm not unhappy where I am. I think that's most important. I'm happy with my partner, and I think I'd rather live in the Netherlands than live in Denmark, if that would mean that I wouldn't have my partner. And he is, and he's been honest with that, not so keen on moving to Denmark, simply because he doesn't see himself there, and that's fair. I moved to the Netherlands back then in the days because I was the easiest one to move of us. So I was the logic choice to move when we were trying to find out if we were going to maintain this relationship and make it more serious than just a few visits, so to say. So I was the easier one to move, but I definitely had concerns also back then, because I was just starting to really get good situated in the Danish team. At the time, I had also just been nominated to Athlete of the Year. I did not win the nomination, unfortunately. So a lot of things went really well at that time as well. Wow, you can really see how this one has had some tension on, huh? They should be memory free, but I can understand that sometimes there's been quite a bit of tension on this short string. But luckily everything still went fine. But I admit that I had concerns if that would affect my potential for qualifying for the Olympic team and going to the Olympics when I moved. And luckily it didn't. I still attained those goals. While remaining and competing for my own country in Denmark. So that is, if I should change things today, maybe I would have stayed Danish. So at some stage in 2013, 14, I changed my nationality in the hope that a few things would improve. And I should have known better. But at the time I made this choice, that seemed at the moment to be the best possible choice available for me. And that is what's important, that you know that when you make some choices that you may feel like regretting later, that there is nothing to regret if you know that you made the best possible choice at that given time based on the knowledge you had. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if I had known what I know now, if I'd known that back then, I would probably not have done it. But what I knew at the time was a perfectly fine choice. Revenant said, a little over 10 years ago, I packed 3 bags and flew 1,200 miles, so about 2,000 kilometers to restart my life with my current wife. It was a huge risk, but it worked out wonderfully. Wow. So, Revenant, were you married already when you, 10 years ago, packed your 3 bags? Like, did you look at your wife then and said, come, honey, let's do something different. We need to do something different. Okay, so you met her there, where you moved to, so to say. Because I would think that that could be even more challenging if you're already having, like, because then you impact 2 people when you make decisions like that, right? You moved to Texas to be with her. So you had met her already? So it's a bit like me moving to the Netherlands, because I had met my partner before I moved here, obviously. We were dating long distance. But we first started living together when I moved here, so to say. But that sounds like it worked out great then, in case. Susan says, whoa, I lived in New Jersey for my whole life, except for the 4 years of college in Delaware. I did work in New York City many years, but I never lived there. Yeah, Ryan confirms that there had been a long distance relationship before him moving all the way to Texas. Did you have like a specific reason for going to Texas rather than her coming your way? Like in my case, it was a simple choice. My partner at the time, or still is, by the way, my partner, when I optioned to move to the Netherlands, had a few things going for it. He had a permanent job. So he had a permanent contract with his boss, who is a quite good employer. He has a company car. He has a house with a mortgage on and so on. Where in Denmark, what I had was I was still studying. I needed to finish up my education. I did not have a job as such. I had a scholarship, student scholarship, which would come to drop once my education were done, obviously. And then I was living in a dormitory. So I had not really any values except for my own belongings, like clothing and that sort of stuff, right? I didn't have a house. Like all my things were easy to move. So for us, it was an easy choice to move me because I was the easiest person of the two of us to move. So that is why I ended up moving to the Netherlands. Oh my goodness, these last 4 stitches is a little bit fiddly. There we go. There we go. There we go. And there we go. My goodness. Look at this, my friends. We are all moved over, inclusive the first round of decrease. It is also a very short wire. But I am fully dewired. Let's just put things back on where this should belong. This is my 8mm, which don't have a strong node as the other 8mm, which is in here. That text is definitely a lot clearer. Remnant says she had a good job in text, that it was far cheaper to live here, and she had 2 kids with her former husband, and the divorce decree limited to where they could live. That makes good sense. And congrats on your 2 bonus kids. Yeah, or it can also just be a decree or an agreement between her and her ex-partner, at least if they still have a, for what you would consider when being divorced, a good relationship. Susan is asking if my partner is older than me. Yes, he is. There is a 12.5 years difference between us. So he is older than me. Mentally, we are probably equally old. Or I say I keep him young. But yes, he's older than me. So there's that. Not an issue as such, though. Oh no, that's this one. The other side is everything that I just needed before. So wires, cap holders, and caps, etc. I'm gonna put the wire down here just to keep track of it, because I don't need it, at least not for a bit. Next time I will need it, it will be for my next project, I guess, for my next hat. We have this one, and we are gonna decrease some more. I just need to remember how it goes from here. Anyhow, we decreased by 1 all the way around, and if I remember right, we decrease 1 more time now, which is gonna be slip, slip, knit, purl, slip, slip, knit, purl. And instead of slip, slip, knitting, I'm basically just pointing my needle from the behind end, and I'm knitting from behind, because technically it obtains the same result, is my experience. So that is my explanation for that. So that was a slip, 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 knit, and then it's a purl. And then we do another. That is just a bit fiddly, but it's probably because I haven't found the real trick yet to work with double pointed needles. What I should do is I should actually, at some stage, before I end up doing this next time, I should probably watch a YouTube tutorial on how to efficiently work with double pointed needles. and get taught a bit. Right now, this is just me attempting whatever works. This works, but I'm not sure if it is the most effective, to be honest, if that makes sense. That said, yarn spits on me. That said, it's still better than when I was forcing. Really, I can't grab these two working ends today. It is still so much better than when I was trying to force them on and close off, or trying to do the what is it called? The magic loop with the double pointed ones. Like, my patience just did not work for it. The double pointed you're working with should be on top of the non-working ones. It technically is just not on top of both, but I could try it being on top of both. But when I do that, I feel the one is pointing on me more, but maybe, I don't know. So technically it is, but maybe not good enough. Susan says I decreased 3 rounds on that hat. Yeah, I am too, because now when I'm looking at it again, I'm like, yeah, it needs one more. So then it's slip, slip, knit, all like decrease, and that's going to be fine. That's true. Roland says I was shopping my stash last night for choosing a new project and settled on using 3 skeins of Premier Just Worsted Ombre in the color Eggplant, making granny rectangle with the 3 skeins I have. Each skein is 612 yards, or about 560 meters. Should be a nice throw blanket. So you're going to make 3 grannies, or you're just gonna add them together in one big granny square blanket-ish thing? Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Just one continuous granny rectangle. Okay, nice. You'll be joining them so like they try to flow equally in the colors, or you're just joining no matter where the skeins end. Like will you partially color control? So this is an excellent rough estimate, 1,000 yards, usually for a Lafgan, or about a 36-inch square. So that was one more done. We have 2 more needles on this row. Rev says he thinks he's going to try to color control. Okay. I think color controlling to some extent can be really nice, especially when possible. Like, at least before you start, if you haven't started yet, that is, I'd recommend you to take a look at all 3 of the yarns and see if you can imagine where the colors would be when they begin and end. and then compare it to where you can easily join them so that you need to do as little color control as possible, if that made sense. That is how I've color controlled some projects in the past. Like if I needed 3 variegated yarns and they are slowly changing colors, I would then look at the starting and ending of the colors to identify which I could better start with and which I could better end with. To ensure that I would need to do the least amount of cutting in the project, so to say. Oh, don't split on me, yarn. Thank you. Can't exactly say if I think it goes easier like this, but it sticks to be the external file. I will definitely prefer working in the round on circular needles on this. But I do also know that this feels less fighting than working with the magic loop. And I think a part of this is to do that I feel stitches go so tiny on the while they're on the wire. I'm currently working dark to light, so I'll go light to dark for the next. That makes good sense. While I was looking at my yarn, I found a massive future purchase of 12 skeins of freshness neon yarn, over 5,000 yards. That is a lot of work. Half of it is variegated and the other half is 2 skeins of each 3 colors variegated. Not sure what kind of pattern I'll be using for it. Success! Finding a good project. Valerie says I donate blankets for the Linus project, usually 40 by 40 inches or Granny Rectangle 40 by 50. Now I wonder what Linus project is. Not something I am familiar with. Of course, I am excused since I am not in the States. As I said, at some stage, I will need to look into where I can potentially donate some of my hats, because I don't classify all of my hats sellable. Some of it is largely due to either me practicing or I don't feel it feels good enough to do. Like I don't feel it. Like in this case, I think they look fine, but I don't feel them. They're not that soft. And I tried washing them to make them softer, and no luck, my friends. Wait. Look, I'd forgotten you. That was better. Then we just need you two and you. Like that. One round of the crease left and we are done. Sweet. Like this is when you can really start feeling you're getting closer and closer to the end. Right? The end is near. These are all slip knits, which means that we'll, on the back side, grab 2 stitches and pull them over. And then we ended with 4 stitches on each stick, and that would then, or each needle technically, and then we will cut the yarn and we'll pull through with a darning needle. Susan says, I need to buy at least 1,000 yards. When I bought the Premier Worsted Ombre, the great sale in November, I only got 2 skeins per number or per color. Okay. My dog keeps on crying if it's breakfast time yet. She gets fed at 8:15 sharp, but starts asking if I'm up at 7 and onwards. Yeah, of course, because, you know, what would happen, the terrifying thing, if you would actually forget? Sounds like you have a Labrador based on their hunger. But most dogs tend to be very, very food motivated. And it would be an absolute nightmare if you would forget a single feeding schedule, even though that it's probably the same every day. I would say give the dog an ear scratch and say, my dear friend, you have to wait for another 20 minutes. Susan says, excellent, Valerie. I used to donate to Project Dino Central in New Jersey until the chapter closed. Okay. Well, I was almost right. Revenant says his dog is a Labrador Collie mix, and she's very food motivated. We got her from shelter 9 years ago, and she was skin and bones. Oh, feeding up a dog. When you get them from a shelter, if they're just skin and bones, but just generally and very heavily underweight dog is also something that takes time. Because while they may be able to just gobble a bunch of food, it is really not good for them to get too much when they're not used to it. So that can also be a challenge. Oh my. This yarn keeps splitting on me, which it hasn't done during the whole knitting process, but it's first here at closing off. It starts to no longer behaving. Who would have thought? Oh, the look of relief when she walked up into our apartment the first time and the air conditioning hit her after being in the Texas heat for late August for who knows how long. I can imagine the feeling of not constantly being boiling hot. But she's been lucky then to end up with you guys. That was just one thread. Oh my goodness. So that is the only downside of this double stranding party, is when I'm closing off, I tend to not always get both of the strands with me. Only one stitch to go. And this is definitely not something I could even imagine recording on. My goodness. Ta-ta! Look at this. You guys know what this means? Means I need to find my scissors and my darning needle. Scissors. Darning needles. Ta-ta. Yeah, rescue pets, I think, are often much more appreciative of what you give them because they know how far worse it could be. Cut. This is end stuffs. I am maybe going to check. I'm probably going to put this in my stash, but I could probably be waiting to see because I have one skein left. And if that will equal one skein, I think it's too little. Then I am likely able to pull out one more of these red ones. Not completely yet, Susan. I need to be finished. Almost another mate finished. And then I definitely, for this, will at some stage need to look at, because as I said, this yarn, it doesn't feel, it's not super soft. It's definitely not the softest I felt. So I feel weird to attempt to sell it. So I am probably going to see if I can find a place to donate it to. Susan says I can knit those beanies with 50 grams per color. I think the other one I did, which is this one, that I did this one on 7 millimeters, right? This is 8 millimeters, so that's the difference between the two. This is 8 millimeter needles, these are 7. I did that with 60, I think, of this yarn. So it depends a little bit on the yarn also, I guess. And I don't think there's that much left there, so there might not be enough. So what I'm considering is I might combine it with a different leftover yarn, a different scrap. And then, because if I'm doing that, I definitely have enough. I will have to see what I'm doing. Slightly undecided. So where did this one come from? Comes from that direction. So we need to go, right? Like, yeah, that direction. That was my point. Thank you. If I don't make it 11 inches out, it's just a non-folded brim hat. That's valid. But how long would you then knit them? In that event? 9 inches. Yeah, okay. I would basically have to check how much yarn I have left. Exactly. So I know that I have one skein, one full skein, and there's definitely enough in that one. But this is not even half, I think. So that's my challenge. Or half. I don't think I won't have enough. But I will weigh it off. And check before I decide the fate of the remainder of this yarn. And then I need to take one. Do this one more. I can mix up the colors with fun multi-look. Yeah, so this is kind of the only yarn I have in this particular yarn that's similar. So I am definitely debating on doing something with the rest. I just haven't exactly decided if it's gonna head into my stash or if I'm gonna see if I can squeeze out another rib knit beanie. That would depend on how much is left, and that will require me, my friends, to find my weight scale and to try to do some math. So what I'm likely gonna do then in that case is weighing up both of these projects and see how far we are and how far I think I would maybe need it. And it's not something that I'm going to cast on today in any case. But I might do the math later today, so we will know that later today. Ta-ta. Now I need to think. We fold this one up. So this goes on the inside as well. Ta-ta. I don't think so. Susan asked if I have lots. What's the weight yarn in my stash? Not really. I have more DK weight than worsted weight. So optionally is that I could combine it with some of my thinner yarns. I can also just, a part of me is thinking that I can stash it back, so to say, to the extent that how can I say that best? I have a scrap pile of different stuff and I can put it into that. And then when the right project is there or whatever, then I can take it out and I can combine that with whatever. All of these different skeins were different in weight also. And the two skeins here I used were the two heaviest of them. So I will have to weigh it up with the last skein I have left and this combined and see if I think I did it wrong. Oh, whatever. It's too late. We'll be fine. Ta-ta. And then I can always combine it up later. Anyhow, my friends, ta-ta. Oh, we already have one. I'm feeling on these two. This is much better than this one. This one is the last one, the first one I made. Made these on 7mm needles. I even washed it to soften it up. It's not really softened up. This feels softer actually. And that is likely because of the bigger needles, even though it's not super visible on the two. This is a new one. This is the old one. Yeah, you can maybe see it a little bit. It's a little looser. The old one is on the top. So it's not a big visible difference, a little bit. But the new one feels a little bit softer. That it does. So we have two. And as I said, I have to weigh the rest of the yarn. I'm not going to do that now. I don't think so, at least. Thank you, ladies. So one bit done. Hallelujah. Well, we like that, don't we? Yes, we do. One whippity whippity whip done. So what I should do is to mark something down before I forget it. Ta-ta. So I'm pretty pleased with having it finished. So that was nice. It's the 14th today. Time flies, doesn't it? That did not go as planned. That was better. Ta-ta. So these two skeins were 85 and 86 grams. And I think that what I have is 70-ish, 73 maybe. And the other ones were like 65-ish each, which I made the first one off, and then I had very, very little scrap left. So that was perfect. So I'm not really sure I have enough to make a pure red one. So if I end up having to combine two yarns, what I will then likely do is I'll finish up one and then I'll finish up the second afterwards, and then I'll add whatever is remaining from that last skein that's still complete to kind of get the half skeins gone and done and dusted. So that is the thinking right now. We are going to look at the Daisy Daze. I'm going to write the right one. Here is US English. I was reading at the UK version 2 weeks ago. No, not 2 weeks ago, last week, Friday. And that confused the heck out of me, because it was talking about treble crochets. And I was like, what treble crochets? Okay, so the square we did, lower section, blah, blah, blah. Work one around until it is 7 centimeters of 2 3/4 inches. And that it should be around now, if I'm not wrong. It is 7.5 to be exact. So that's perfect, because I did finish it with the single crochet. So technically I can continue now with the bottom, but the question is if I need to do one more round, and that depends on the rest of the pattern. So I'm just going to read that. I linked to this pattern in the description box down below. If you want, we can also, of course, share the screen and you can read with me. That's not an issue. It is a free pattern on Garn Studio website. So here we go. And it basically says here, for the bottom, lay the bag flat with 3 squares in front and 3 behind. Insert one marker thread in each 66 stitches between the threads. Insert now 4 markers, each one inserted in a stitch where they're used to, decreasing the bottom. Count 5 stitches, blah, blah. Whew, we're gonna do counting. Am I really in the mood for this? Not really. Working the round back and forth, sort of decrease like this, and each double crochet with 3 more times round 100 stitches. Cut strand and pull it through the stitch. Lay the bag flat, sew the bottom together with 1 stitch in each of the 50 stitches, sewing together both layers. Okay. Top section. Work around the top edge of the band with the hook size, blah, blah. Start from the right side with 1 slip stitch between the seam between the 2 squares and the side of the bag. Work 3 chain stitches, then double crochet each chain stitch all the way around. Yeah. Remember crochet information, which is what we know of. 1 alternatively, blah, 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 until it's 5 centimeters. So probably like a row shorter. And then we're back to doing. So the real challenge is I have enough yarn, I think. If you're looking at the back here, would I want to have it just a little bit longer, or should I just follow the faith? Like, would I want it 1 round longer? That is the real question here. So I have 2 skeins left, plus the one I have on my working end here, which is like, I don't know, half a skein. So I feel I should have enough yarn to pull that off, actually. Choices. I just feel it would be nicer if it's a bit deeper. If that makes sense. So my feeling is I should give it 1 more row before the decrease. Yeah. Or that would actually technically be 2, because it would be 1 row of double crochets and 1 row of single crochets. And I have some ends I need to weave in too. Yeah, I think that is what we are gonna do. We are gonna do 1 more round, because 1 more round is like an inch, less than an inch. 1 more row of this is 1.5 centimeters. So like a 3/4 of an inch, which is not a lot, but it's a little, and I feel it just needs a little. So I actually think, based on that we should be just fine doing so. Then, my friends, I will be aggrieved if I end up being short after this on yarn, but that is my least concern for now. Let's see, this is the inside, so I would have to look at it like this. Like this. No. Then I'd need to pull it like this. That was better, because we are going that direction. And it does say chain, blah, 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 blah. But I am instead stacking my double crochets or single crochets to get the double. I think that generally makes it for a smoother change than rise than the chains. So we are doing one more row of double crochets, one more row of single crochets, and then we are gonna count, so to say. And I think I have enough yarn for this, so I feel reasonably safe. So here we are cracking along. But yeah, so we do have some other crochet projects that I should be starting on. Some of them are in the Shop My Stash project, which I made this advent calendar about back in December. Yeah. But I'm super happy that we finished up one more project. So that was pleasing for sure. Can't believe it's already Wednesday. We are halfway through January almost as well. Isn't that crazy? I'm still learning how to write 2026. And why am I saying this? I made a chat group for something that I'm organizing in March. And what did I write in it? Event 2025. But apparently it was supposed to say event 2026, right? So like I'm still trying to get used to that. And yet it's already like been 14 days of 2026. But it's not exactly going that well for me, remembering that. Oh my goodness. Maybe at some stage I'll learn. Do you also have struggles in the beginning of the new year getting used to writing 2026 for like when you write dates and stuff? Or year for that matter? Could also be things that you put in the freezer, which you date mark. I feel it almost takes a month every year, like happily forgetting how it's working magically every time. Susan says DK can work to needle sizes and some of the stitches may have to be adjusted. Yeah, that might be the case. So I will have a look. I definitely do have things in my stash, but if I'm not sure if it's gonna be with the red. I also have some other scrap yarns, very important to say, from Ice. Also acrylics, but definitely a different color than this and a different yarn. Somewhat thinner, which I'm also considering double or triple stranding to make rib knit beanies. I do have a few more skeins of that as well. So it's not like I'm done making rib knit beanies. It's just I'm not sure if I'll be able to squeeze more out of that particular yarn. Or if I do, I may double it with a different acrylic, which is definitely very likely. But then it could be that that's going to be delayed a bit. I have a project that I'm about to start on that also has a reasonably simple acrylic in it, which is also more of a DK weight acrylic, but I could definitely see this blue with this red combined. That would be gorgeous, or even combine that with a white, but then I need something bigger than 8mm needles. Then I might have to go and look at my brown set of needles and see if I have something bigger. If I go that direction, I will have to see what I have. But I definitely do have some ideas. That blue would depend on another project to finish first, so I know how much I have there left over and if it's even realistic to double strand and get a bag out of it. Though I think it would probably be fine double stranding it with this, because I think this red is definitely sort of worsted, because I think this cotton is a bit of a it's thicker than DK, so it's probably close to a worsted. And if I look at these together, the red definitely seems thicker than the cotton, right? The red is definitely thicker than the cotton. Of course, there goes more air out of the red if I like squeeze pull them. Then it's a bit more similar. So that's probably, I think I could do that, but that would require me definitely to get started on that other project soon. That is the yarn I wanted to use for the Simple Yet Creative cowl. I think I do have the photo of the I should have. Yeah, here we go. It's a slightly bit lighter, but the yarn I'm thinking I could double strand, potentially double strand that red with, would be this. This is like a basic acrylic. I think that red, the red would be absolutely gorgeous together with this blue. I think that could work just fine. At least that's my idea. But as I said, it's somewhat undecided. It's somewhat undecided because I need to make sure that the project I'm planning on doing is finished and has all the yarn it needs, and then whatever is spare of that, I can use for this. I do have a video where I present the waffle check shrug that I want to make with this yarn. What I could do is I could go and find it. because it is the first of the Advent Calendar series. So I'm just copying the link and I am throwing it in the chat as well as in the description of this video. That is probably one I think could be a good thing to start on within reasonable time. If that makes sense. So that's what I'm thinking. No need for you guys to watch this video now, but you know, I present a little bit more about the yarn and so on in that video. And I'm thinking I could maybe use the leftovers from that project to combine with this. That would work. Plus it would make it a bit softer too. But I don't want to use the yarn before, of course, that I know I have enough for the project I kind of planned for the yarn. So first I'm going to make that. And then I'm going to do, because I really don't think, like, I definitely have enough to only use one strand, so to say, then I can make a complete beanie. But I don't have enough to do a double layered one. I think I could also even make a single layered one from the yarn if I wanted to. But then a double stranded with blue might feel a bit nicer in the thoughts. So maybe I should find a different yarn double strand with, or double stranded knit, whatever is my thinking. I need to go into that bag I have with the millins. That's it. I don't feel I have that much time to cast it on before this weekend in any case. And we always have the Simple Yet Effective Cowl, which we started on Monday. Not that I've done much on it. We cast it on and then we did 4 rows on 5 rows. We did 5 rows on the live. And then we changed over to work on this bag. And I'm seeing myself pulling a bit back from the actual action. I'm sorry. And that's kind of what we ended it with. And then since I've done 2 rows, on the cowl, but it's also an easy project to bring with you on the go. So I guess I'm trying not to do too much in it. And I'm not going to have a lot of time tonight to craft. But yeah, so we are chucking along nicely. If we do get tired of this yarn, then I can always grab and knit a bit on the cowl. That is definitely an option. So options are plentiful, one could say. Dun, 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 dun. But I am wondering if I actually will have enough yarn for that blue. Because I was thinking that I wanted to make it a bit bigger than the original pattern set. Then I may not have. It's not the most important right now. Because in the end, I will need to weigh up the remaining of that red yarn to see how much there is. Which I actually just could move my rear end and pick up the weight scale instead of just keep thinking. Now, wouldn't that be a solution? It would. We are going to do one round of single crochets on the other way around. And then we have to narrow it in. But I'm gonna find my weight scale. Just hang on. It's not that far from here. My kitchen scale is the solution to many things. Find the other end. Plus whatever scraps I have left. So this is how they originally looked, except as you can see, this is 71 grams. I wrote it down, but they were all different. But that's another full end. Well, I should probably zero it. It should say 71, pretty much. 71, perfect. This is how much I had left from my 63 and 64, something like that, gram skeins. I'm just putting away my woven in ends, garbage, so to say, well, filling for a new future project. So that's 71 grams. 71 grams is definitely enough to make a rim knit. It's like a double one. But this, my friends, is not even close. This is 42 grams. That gives me like 113 grams in total. So I could make one that's not double-edged, I guess. I should have about enough, but it would require me to work these up after each other and then work both ends of this at the same time when I get there. That would be the, yeah, I'm quite sure they're like 120 to 130. The first of the hats, I barely can see it. It's 120 exact. Sorry for not being able to show it more clearly. And this is 124. So they are like 5 to 10 grams heavier in total than I have yarn. So double edge or double folded is not an option, so to say. Like, does it want to stand? Like, would it want to? Yeah, it would. 124, right? And if I do the same with this one, it should say 120-ish. Yeah, 120. It's a 4 grams difference. So yeah, and weighing all of these yarns together, it's going to be 100 and, well, that's not correct, is it? 111, 112. So we're 10 grams short. Bummer. Unless, of course, that the option for the road saying that I don't need to double fold the brim. It could definitely be an option. Oh, and I totally forgot I have this tiny miniature scrap too. But that's more for closing off the top or something like that at best. So we definitely don't have enough for a double folded rib knit beanie. That said, I could use fewer stitches because for these, I've done 64 instead of 56. So I could make it tinier. That might be enough. I'm just doing some math. One moment. So 120 full. 6 is average of the two is 122. Divided by 64 stitches is 1.19 grams per stitch in the round it weighs. And if increased by 8 stitches is 15 grams. And that is what I'm missing. So actually, Susan, I think I can make it with a double folded brim if I decrease the amount of stitches. So this is more like a me head size. Me head is a big head. It's large. I could make it small to medium. Yeah, I've done 64 because then I can fit it. I have a big head. Like how many inches would that be? My head circumference is like 22 inches. Believe it or not. So I think if I did 56 stitches, I would just about to be able to make it. And if it is a smaller head, regardless, it also needs, it's not going to be a disaster if it's going to be, let's say, 10 inches and 3/4. Who would have thought we came to such a conclusion today? Just seeing that because we're back working on these light yarns, we need different camera lighting. I can do that. I can actually do that. So if I did 56 stitches instead of 64, I should have enough to do it. I will have to weave in some couple of ends because I'll have to join 2 half skeins or less than 2 half skeins. Plus I will have to work from both ends of the working end towards the end. So it's going to be a bit of a hassle, but it's definitely doable. And then I'll just make a size smaller. That will work. Okay, solution found. Yay. Who would have thought? Oh my goodness. So that's my thinking. That's how I am gonna solve it. What do you think? I'll just make it a bit smaller, basically, in circumference. So it's gonna be not a medium-sized, but a small-sized. I think it'll work up just fine. I just don't expect to be able to fit it. But my mini mannequin can, because it's like 20 inches or so, 19, 20 inches. I think, yeah, 19-ish. Solution found. Solution found. Decision has been made. Susan says I can also try knit 2, purl 2, rip for extra stretch. That's also an option, actually. That's also an option. Anyhow, I have things to think about. Because indeed I am using more stitches, and due to the more stitches, obviously it weighs more. Plus, you know, I just calculated about the average weight on the length, right? So if I take out 1 row of all the stitches, that's how many grams. And if I take out the rows I've added to make sure it's larger size, that makes up for that difference. Yeah, I've made some knit 2, rip 2 beanies. I've definitely made some of those. But I have to say, I've never considered that stretches more. That was mainly what I did in the very beginning. Like the first 2 or 3 beanies I made were knit 2, purl 2, rip. So I could definitely consider doing that. But I just never considered if it was more stretchy. The benefit, of course, of doing that is that it is clear to see the difference of which has more stitches. So it's easier to keep track of which of them are the smaller size. But it should also then knit up quicker because obviously fewer stitches. Aha. So maybe that's not a bad idea. I might actually take you on that suggestion and do that. It seems like a solid, good idea. Plus, I will then have a new couch project going on that's not necessarily my simple cowl. And I think that is also a winner. So that is what we are going to do. That is a nice idea, actually. Yes, I like it. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to hydrate. Meanwhile, the sun is still shining, but it is past being on the southern look. It's too far below. It won't pass through the fences we have in the backyard. That said, I can really see, like in about an hour-ish, I can really see it starting to be lighter outside. So here towards 5:30 p.m., it's definitely clearly much lighter surroundings, which is really nice. Dun, 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 dun. Mhm. Cracking, cracking, cracking. Hello, Rikke. I finished the hat today. I finished my rib knit beanie. Ta-ta! At the very beginning of the stream, like the first hour or so, we finished up this one. Susan asks if everybody is wearing Valentine's Day themes items. Well, it would almost be like this beanie because it's red, I guess. Thank you very much. Rikke says this is perfection. Thank you so much. We just calculated I don't have enough yarn to make an exact copy of this. Because this, my friend, is what I have left. These two have quarter left skeins. But I also have like this much of another, plus this, and it's not a full skein because it's 71 grams, because it's these mill ends. But we calculated, because I'm doing the 64 stitches and I could technically also do 56 and make a smaller size. That should just about be enough yarn. So that is what we're going to try. Yeah, but I don't have any other color in that particular yarn, so it would just have to be some random acrylic, which I probably have, but I don't have any scraps. I think I'm going to do that with. So what I'm thinking, so what we came to the conclusion we're going to make, and that was based a little bit on Susan's suggestion. I'm going to make it 2 red, 2 net, 2 like 2 net, 2 pearl, 2 net, 2 pearl, but with 56 stitches instead of 64, because I calculated I'm 10 grams short based on the final hat weight and the grams I have, but decreasing the circumference with 8 stitches will win me about 15 grams. So then I should have 4 grams over, which should be about 8 meters of yarn. So I'm going to try that. And the worst thing that can happen is that I don't have enough and it's just going to be an unfolded regular 2 knit, 2 pearl, so rib knit beanie is my thoughts. Revenant, thank you so much. Revenant decided to give away a membership here for my channel, and the receiver of this is Steven Silva. Congratulations on your membership. Thank you so much for your generosity. It is much appreciated. And normally I would play off a lots of partying sounds. I don't know if that would actually technically work. I do have the video. I could see if I could share that and then hit play. But I don't think you get system audio. But you could get the video, I guess. Let's see if it wants to share that. Give me one moment, because I don't think I get audio for it either. I probably don't. Let's try if it's wanting to share this. Oh no, not that one. This one. Oh. Ta-ta! But I don't know if you get the audio. I don't know if you get the audio, but the thought matters. Thank you so much. That's much appreciated. Ta-ta! Oh no, it didn't share it. I didn't share it. No. I thought it did. No. No. I just genuinely need to get my Yeah, I need to get that computer sorted. I need to get that computer sorted. End conclusion. One would have thought this would have worked. No. Well, I can do this. Of course. I can do this. The entire screen. Ta-ta! No audio, but the thought matters. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's much appreciated. Yeah. That sort of keeps running in my background. Like if it's confident, I'll make something beautiful with the yarn no matter what. Frogler raglan sweater that I hadn't gotten far with to make a different raglan sweater, and this one is going to be super comfy. That is the most important part, that you feel the frogging is worth it, because it's going to make something better than what you were making. Susan says, be careful when casting on number when you're doing 2 knit to rip, 2 knit to purl rip. I've messed up before by ending around with 4 purl stitches. I forget what count needs to be. Yeah, so I could also still just do a regular rip knit. It needs to be divisible by 4, basically. So if you have 56 stitches, divisible by 4, it should be 14. So you have 14 and 14 purls, basically. So that is divisible. Or dividable. And Nightbot feels like sharing a bunch of information. Thank you, Nightbot, for being present. It has been sunny today here, which I'm quite happy about, actually. So it is my last live until next week, Wednesday, for the plans. But until then, we do have a few other things coming up on this channel, such as Yarn Talk on Friday, and on Monday we'll have the first edition of the Sort My Stash series with the introduction, as well as the first bits of stash being sorted, and a few projects mentioned in that as well. So that is also option projects I could start with if I need to end up waiting a long time on the Hobbii Twister to go on sale. I am hoping for Hobbii Solids, Twister Solids to go on sale within foreseeable time, but it could also be 1 or 2 months if I'm really unlucky, which means that I will not be able to start before then, because I want to see the alternative solid colors before I'm starting it. The worst thing that can happen is that the colors doesn't match up and I don't like the alternatives and I'm going to go with yarn I already have. But if that's the case, those solid colors I can easily do for another project. Like I can easily make a different shawl with that. So I'm not too concerned about them having surplus. And that is the only yarn I'm planning on buying, with exception of course, the yarn that I am picking up for free for my points. And that is what's pending now. Susan asked if I can go to the Hobbii store next time I'm in Denmark. I'm not sure I'll have the time for it because it's not close to where my parents live and we don't have any business in the city next time there, unfortunately. So I'm not too sure. That would be nice if I could. That would make my whole life easier, wouldn't it? But I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, that I will have the opportunity to do it. Because I have a lot of things to do next time I'm there. So I'm traveling on a Wednesday. And I'm not gonna carry my luggage and everything to just make the simple stop to go and check out. I don't have time for that. Also, I have to work on that Wednesday when I get to the destination. Then Thursday and Friday I'm working. Yeah, no, I don't think I will have time. It's not gonna fit in practically. Take my parents and drive to the Hobbii store. My dad would be bored to hell. I don't know if my mom would feel fit enough to do it. If she feels like it, it could be an option one of the days, definitely. But I don't know if she feels in the mood. To attempt doing a trip like that. It's a 45 minutes drive. And needing to park the car, and yeah, it's also a bit of a walk and stuff like that. So I don't know if it makes sense. It could probably be better for an own trip. Okay, so I stopped here because I am unsure. I think this is a joining stitch, if I'm not wrong. So I shouldn't do that. But I need to count my stitches because I need to have 136. Right. So I'm just checking here. Oh, my goodness, I am yawning. No, 132, sorry. So 132 is what I need. Lay the bag flat, insert a marker in each side, 166. So 166 plus 166 is 132. So I have 132 stitches. So I need to count to 132. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I should probably have a few stitch markers, a stitch marker to help me with some of this. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That makes 40. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And we are at 60. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 40. Oh shit, we try again. We're at 60. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That gives 80. Two, 4, oops, Daisy. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 100. So there needs to be a 32 on the last bit. 2, oh Jesus. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. I'm missing 2 stitches, so I'm missing 1 stitch somewhere. Who knows where? Well, okay. Hello, Rikke, welcome back. So yeah, it would be a great suggestion going to Hobbii, but I don't think it's gonna fit into the schedule. Is my issue. Okay, I need to redo the stitch first of all. Then I need to consider or I need to decrease 2 less. That's also an option. That would be the easiest option of all. Okay, that's what we're probably gonna do then. We have to working the other way around, which means that from this side we have to pull yarn through. So somehow in between all of this, I managed to probably here in the joints and starts decrease. But I'm really not gonna micromanage and try to figure out how that happened. It's just not worth my time. I'm definitely not gonna frog it to figure out where it happened. It's 2 stitches. 2 stitches is not gonna be the end of the world. But what we do know is we have 2 stitches less to do with. But actually, that's not a nightmare. It's an equal amount of stitches, which is great because basically it says here, bottom, lay the back flat with 3 squares in front and 3 behind. Insert a stitch mark in each side, 66 stitches between the threads. Insert now 4 markers, each one in the stitch where they're used when decreasing the bottom. Count 5 stitches, blah, blah, blah. So basically count 5 stitches out from each side of both marker threads. Insert a marker in the 6th stitch with 10 stitches between them on the shorter sides, 54 stitches. Working the round back and forth as before, but at each round of the double crochets, decrease 2 double crochets at each marker, which makes sure we decrease 8 stitches per decreased round. Decrease like this. Double crochet round 3 more times, which gives 100 stitches. Cut the strand and pull it through the stitch. Lay the back flat and sew in the bottom right together with 1 stitch in each of the 50 stitches sewing through the layers. It doesn't really matter technically because then it's just going to be sewing through 46 stitches instead of 50. Well, not 48, sorry. So it's not a biggest issue. No, that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine. So instead of counting 66, we're going to have to count to 65 and find some different stitch markers. I guess we already sort of have purple going. So I guess purple it's going to be. Purple-ish. So basically, we still keep doing a similar decrease. So we are going to have a full round of single crochets with no decreases, and then the double crochets we do 2 double crochets together. That is what I'm understanding. Here we have a stitch and here we have a stitch. So turning this around and having to work this way around, this would be 1 stitch. So will be the starting stitch in this case. And we would need 65 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Could also just do the rest in between, couldn't I? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60, 2, 4, 5. Could be that it has to be moved one, because I think I'm counting including the other one. So the logic would be actually that it should be in this one, and then we include this one in the count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. 2, 4, 6, 8, 50. 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. 2, 4, 5. Perfect. We're just missing a single stitch, but it's gonna be approximately like that. So what did they then say here? Now insert 4 markers, each one inserted in a stitch that they're used when decreasing the bottom. Okay. Count 5 stitches out from each side of both mark and insert a stitch marker in the 6th stitch. We'll do that. So the real question is, should we do a different color? Could probably do the teals. Dun, dun. We need 8 of them. 6, 7. And is it really important that they have the same color? Not really. It's just me being crazy. We'll come back, Regge, if I didn't say that yet. Okay, it says, count 5 stitches out from each side of both marker thread. Insert a mark on the 6th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Two, 4, 5, 6. 2, 4, 6. Two, 4, 5, 6. Good. So far, so far. Now we are gonna do 10 stitches between them on the short sides. Yeah. And 54 stitches on the long side. Working around. Okay, so that's the only things I need. So I only need to decrease on those, which matches. Yeah, okay. I didn't need 8. I just needed 4. Cool. Like I say, she's the same when it comes to color matching stitch markers. I do, especially in this case, because, you know, now we've made it so that the purples are my end stitches, like the end of the side of the bag. Oh, those squares that really, if they had just gotten blocked, it would have been nice and flat, but of course I didn't do that. And then the decrease points are the teal ones. So I like the ability to be able to see what is what. So I could have done an opposite and had endpoints as teal and decrease points as purple or whatever, but it's just how it turned out to be. Don't forget to hydrate. And then we're turning the work around because we're working on the right side when we're working double crochets. Which means that this. Oh, this seems so not aligned. This was a bit better. But yeah, else I would agree totally. So obviously, if I will be able to visit Hobbii before the twisters go on sale, I will look at the Hobbii store instead. But there is a chance that I will just accept defeat. And order both. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll do 5. And then I would say read decrease tip 1. I should have to read decrease tip 1 before starting on this, but let's say decrease 2 double crochets by working by working 3 double crochets together. But start 1 stitch before the marker, work 1 double crochet, but wait with the, okay, well, we'll better follow the pattern here with the explanation. Walk. Okay, 1 stitch before the marker, which is right here. We'll remove the marker. Work 1 double crochet, but wait with the last yarn over and pull through. So that was 1. Work 1 double crochet in the marker stitch, yes. But wait with the last and pull 1 in the next stitch and then pull all through. Yeah, I get that. Okay, cool, no problem. And then yarn over and pull through 4 loops. Sweet. 2 stitches agrees. Move the marker on top of the stitch. Okay, I will do that. Easy peasy, lemon easy. And then we'll do double crochets all the way until the next marker. Well, seems pretty simple. Okay, so that was really good. I did read this because else I had almost done something completely different. So it is still slightly different because in the end, when I'm going to sew this together, we will have 1 stitch less to sew together because somehow I managed to decrease 2 stitches during the whole process for now. But I'm really not going to look where those 2 stitches can be found. It's just that's the imperfections we have to live with once in a while. And given the fact that I do not believe it's visible, I do not think it's worth trying to find it out. You can see a little bit where I work up the side, but it's not too bad. Good morning, Gloria. Welcome to this live. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. I am working here on the Daze Bag. We are working on the bottom section and we just decided to decrease. So I just went through a bunch of counting. And now we are working again, cracking on, so to say. And so far it's easy. Next decrease is at the next petrol colored stitch marker or teal colored stitch marker. And as you see, it is grinding squares indeed, which is on the top section of this bag. crackling along here. Stitch for stitch for stitch. Du, 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 du. The following round is going to be easy, right? It's just single crochets. Gloria, what are you working on today? Or you just got to sit down? We are also getting closer to finishing this skein. It is definitely decreasing. Gloria says she's working on an essential baby blanket. Oh, that sounds nice. Donations or family occurrence? But could be sold it, of course, too. A long time ago, there was a really fashion for knitting baby blankets in Denmark, the so-called Mary blanket, and it's named the Mary blanket because that it was knit and gifted to our crown princess, well now Queen Mary of Denmark, and you know that was, yeah, that kind of went into hype, and everybody would know today if you talk about the Mary baby blanket, everybody's like, oh yeah. It's also fair to say that handcrafting is definitely getting more in, both as a thing to do, but also to wear in Denmark. There is definitely getting more hype around it. And of course, we handcrafters understand why. And I think also from the crafting perspective, there is something cozy about sitting and crafting, especially during winter time, when there is less light outside. Like I say, sounds like the granny square bag that one of the Swedish princesses had. Well, that could be. Maybe this gets popular too. I guess that's for everything, right? There's always something that goes totally popular for whatever reason. I'm looking at this and I'm like, was it including or excluding? 2, 4, 5. No, I don't know. Then it's worst case, it's going to be decreased a stitch further away, but whatever. If it's the same on all, it should not matter. That is my conclusion to this. But yeah, there's always this tendency when there is something that's popular and famous, and if it's worn by some fashionista, whatever, or just generally a well-known person, everybody starts making it. At the same time, wasn't it Prada that released this crocheted piece, which was like a pin with 7 stitches around it, and they wanted like a fortune for it? Where we were all in the crochet world being like, okay, I could definitely make that for that amount of money. Rega says yes, it was Prada. So see, I remembered correct. Yay. Prada made a step for crocheting world, but I did not want to pay 100 euros for that thing, or it was even more than 100 euros, but $700, was it that crazy? But that just makes it worse, right? But I can definitely find some pins and crochet that for $700 if somebody would pay me that for it. Most definitely I could find something in my stash that would work. Okay, fair enough. The pin was gold. Yeah, that's probably true. But still, like, that's insane. That's insane. Don't tell me, because that's the thing. It's not. It doesn't have several $100 value of gold in it either. That's the thing with these. Like, it's the same with your jewelry. You may have a golden necklace. What would I know? I have a golden bracelet that I inherited from my grandmother, and I don't use it, but it doesn't carry that value. Just as well as I have a silver bracelet here that I got for my 18-year-old birthday from my parents. So it's 22 years old, but it's still going strong. And I have necklaces to match and so on. But that doesn't have street value either, in the sense of, because it's designed. Yeah, you pay for the name of the brand, and you pay for the design. You don't pay for the material, in the sense of, you still do pay for the material, but not close to the material value of it, if that makes sense. I think in the case of my bracelets and so on, it's more like a nameless, brandless something. But yeah. Anyhow, we are checking along here. After the first bits of decreases. And then it says we have to sew it together through both stitches. I would definitely keep that seam on the inside if that's the case. Though I have the feeling that my mattress stitch would probably be more than strong enough to hold that button. So I might just end up doing that. Like I say, I'm a seamstress in education, and during education we got to sew our own Steenström's shirts for a fraction of the cost that they're sold for in the store. Yeah, surprise, huh? Just because it's made by Steenström, then they instantly charge you a fortune. I saw the cutest small sewing machine in the store yesterday. Like, I was kind of tempted to get it because it was just 20 euros. How can you believe you can even buy a sewing machine for 20 euros? So I think, you know, it's gonna break instantly. So I don't have room for it. I don't need it. So like I did leave it there. But it was like this big. It was like a mini sewing machine. But it looked like a real sewing machine. So I was like, I don't know if it's useful, but maybe. But I didn't get it. I decided to nicely leave it in the store, mainly because I guess then if I get to the part where I want to buy myself a sewing machine, I hope I can get one that is a bit better quality. Very cute. Very cute tiny sewing machine. That is for sure. It was like a miniature one. I don't even know if we will be able to find it online. I think it's a store product only. I found it in the Aldi. Oh, you should be able to get. It's ideal for beginners and can fix small reparations, works on either batteries or power, and has 2 speeds for front and back, feet pedal, and it's not very good for thicker clothing, which is logic. So it's like a light project thingy. Here we have it. It says even that it's going to be it's 18 euros according to this. That might be true. Who knows? It's expired, which I kind of knew, but it's an Ambiano. Let's see if we can actually find like a photo of it instead of this half-used folder. So it's this like tiny, it's probably like, I don't know, 30 by 30 or something like that. But most seem to be not impressed, and I think that's due to the tiny size of it. Yeah, there should be some YouTube reviews on it, but still, I'm like, nah, probably better off to get a decent sewing machine from like Singer or something like that. Exactly, get a proper one instead. Wow. So Rega says she has a proper sewing machine. It's lasting a lot longer, and hers she's been using for 27 years. Yeah, that's true. And that's the reason I didn't like just shed out 20 euros on it, so to say, because I know myself that I'd want something more durable. Let's face it, I got back into crocheting with this cheap plastic hook. And it took me not very long to order actual metal hooks. And even after ordering my first metal hooks, I've changed to a bit more expensive metal hooks, which are like, these are the Clover Soft Touch, which is not super expensive, but they're not super cheap either. And I work really fine with these, where like some of the cheaper ones I definitely don't work very well with. I don't even have anyone next to me, so I can easily show what I mean. But I feel the cheaper ergonomic hooks, where they have this rubber handle, that the handle start to slide on the hook over time, where this is solid and it's still rock solid after me using it for probably 2 years. The other I experienced, I need to super glue the handle to the actual needle, which is, well, in my world, not good quality. So much better to get quality. Becca has a brother sewing machine. And yes, working with proper equipment does make a huge difference. It gives you much more pleasure in what you're doing, I think, as well. By that said, I did enjoy my metal needles, and I think I bought them because they were square and they were cheaper than these from a Knit Pro that I have. But I'd rather use my Knit Pro in wood rather than the middle ones if I can choose. Again, depends on the project. And it's still not bad to have the other ones. I'm still not unhappy I have them. They're definitely still gonna stay in my stash of things. But I think it goes with everything. You can feel a difference if you work in good quality yarn. It's even with acrylics, right? If you work in a cheap acrylic, or if you work in a nice solid premium acrylic, you can also feel a difference there. Same goes for cottons, and there's also different levels of quality of wool. And you can definitely also feel, depending on what materials you're working in, what's giving you preference. It's the same, like, with yarn thickness and so on. There's also different preferences there, if you'd like a sport weight or if you're more for an Aran weight or worsted weight yarn. I'm a bit open for everything, though too bulky over time does tire me a bit, but at the same time, if it gets too thin, you have the same issue. Generally, I like to have different sizing projects because then I am more free to just grab a project, and I can easier take breaks between the projects by picking up a different project with a different size, as that instantly feels better. Look at my finger, my goodness. Yarn is touring me, completely tormenting me. And I'm saying I'm not even having that much of attention on it, but it just, redo this because this is decrease. So we'll do one pull through, yarn over, go into the next stitch, one pull through, yarn over and the next stitch, and one pull through, and then we'll pull through all three and insert the stitch marker, as the description nicely said. Yay! That should leave me with 4 stitches, including the stitch marker. So we'll do that. And then we need to turn around. And I'm quite sure it then says, blah, 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 blah. Finish the round with 1 slip stitch in the 3rd chain of the crown. Read crochet. Work alternatively 1 round of single crochets from the wrong side, and 1 round of double crochets on the right side with 1 stitch in each stitch for blah, blah, blah. I did that. Okay. Decrease 2 double crochet stitches, marker to decrease step. Did decrease like this on each double crochet round 3 more times, so we have 100 stitches. Cut the strand and pull through. Wait like this. Let's see. it would be logic if I would flip them back forth that I don't subtly change that bit, and I don't think it does. Looking at the photo, it keeps the same. So indeed, I need to switch around and not decrease this video, which would then mean that I'm working from this side. And we have 4 stitches and 4 stitches including, which means I don't know which is what, but that would be my first stitch, I would say. 2, 4, so I need to stitch in that too. Okay, because yeah, good, under control. Under control, we have it. Of course, all of these are now placed in the wrong direction. So let's put it back in with the right direction, I guess. But they need to be placed in the same stitch as I go the way back. And that is the logic. Yeah. So I get often asked what's for dinner, and today for dinner is leftovers. Yesterday I made a curry soup, and I did that with lots of fresh veggies. I put in an onion. There is sweet potatoes in it. There is regular potatoes. There is a pastinac. Not sure what that is called in English. I will need to check. If it's just me thinking it's about the same word, probably be. It probably might not be. Parsnip. Parsnip would be the right word in English. There's a parsnip in it. Then there is carrots. Then I did boil it until it's like ready, so to say, bit mushy. And then I did also add bouillon blocks, veggie bouillon blocks, and chicken bouillon block. I then mushed it with my mixing thingy. It's like a long mix on a stick. You put it in and it gets all mushy up, so it gets all creamy. Then I added a coffee spoon of turmeric spice to make it a bit more yellow. Then I added 3.5 coffee spoons of curry spices. And then I added 1 can of coconut milk. And then I added chicken blocks, which then, and I let the soup boil for another 15 minutes so that the chicken would be tender. Tiny chicken pieces, so it was quick in the sense of. And that's what we had. And it was really, really nice and delicious. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to make. And it's very easy and simple. Oh yeah, I did add salt, of course, too, when I was boiling the veggies. And we have leftovers of that today. So yay for leftovers. So it's just about heating it up. So it's easy. We like easy. So that was my decrease stitch. That was my center stitch. Stitch mark now, don't disappear on me. Normally I would turn the stitch markers around, but given the fact that I will need to turn them around again next row, I'm like, I don't. Then I'm a bit lazy. So what I think we're probably doing is finishing off this decrease bit, or not this decrease bit, but this single crochet row, and that's probably where we're getting towards the end here for today. And I suspect that this bag will likely be completed next live, so we will have a new project to crochet on then. And the plan is for me then to cake up those acrylic skeins of the royals I have, and get started on the waffle chick shrug, or alternatively I could do the drops pattern, or could it be that I end up working on both depending on my mood? But I will definitely need to cake up a skein to start on one of them. The other, I think I will probably be fine working from the skeins. They're not that long. They're like half the length and half the size. Chicken, yes, chicken indeed. I did add chicken pieces into it. Very easy, simple to do. We have these dried chicken broth blocks that you can make broth for the soup with, right? So I added a couple of those into it as well, based on the amount of water I was boiling in. I did use about 2 liters of water or something like that. And then about the same amount of sweet potatoes to regular potatoes to parsnip to carrots and a single onion, and boil until it's mushy, and then you blend it. And well, before you blend it, you'll probably add those broth thingies. that would make sense. And then, yeah, add the spoon of turmeric and 2.5 spoons of curry. And if you feel it needs a little bit more curry taste, you can always add extra curry. It kind of depends on your individual feeling. It will probably also work well with a single or two if you want some garlic in it. And as I said, I did then a tin of or can of coconut milk, which is about 400 milliliters of coconut milk. No idea if you have similar sizes in the US of coconut milk. I did the light coconut milk, so it's a little bit less fat content, but it doesn't really matter if you do one or the other. And then just chicken blocks, like small blocks of chicken. Could be chicken breast. And you'll put that in and boil with it for the last 15 minutes, so it gets tender. And the chicken then takes up a bit of the taste from the soup itself, which makes it a bit extra nice. So it's very simple forward to make, actually, and it tastes quite nice. It's a bit creamy, yet the chicken obviously isn't blended, but it's a nice creamy taste for a soup. Normally in the past, I would have bought like a sachet with the ingredients for it, and there wouldn't be that many veggies in it at all. But they stopped making it, and that's kind of how I figured out doing it, like from the bare basics. And I like the fact that it has so many veggies in. And it's still creamy, so that's nice. That makes it extra nice. So yeah, that is the leftovers for dinner, because obviously I like leftovers. So we're almost done here. So I think I'll definitely finish off that skein later today. I should be able to have time for that. Or if I don't, it's gonna be done tomorrow, because we are so close. That kind of depends on how everything flows later today and how quickly I'll be home. I've definitely done some good progress today. I'm very satisfied. And we made the calculation that I can do a 2 rip 2 knit, or 2 knit 2 rip, whatever, of the beanies. So let's see. I have 2, 4. Yeah. That should fit with the other side too, shouldn't it? Do have an extra stitch there. I have an extra stitch there. So I'll need to incorporate an extra stitch somewhere. No, that is a headache for another time, not today. This, my friends, is how far we have gotten, and we have started decreasing for the bottom, which means that it's going to go a little bit more like this, and then we'll sew it together here. We'll add, like, I think probably a few rounds up here before we start adding for the straps, which makes it a nice bag once we're done. I have 2 more of these skeins. That should be enough to wrap it up. I definitely think I should have yarn left on the next skein here before I start up here, and that should be fine. If I end up a little bit short, I still have some of this white left that I can always add in somewhere. It is tempting to maybe do a single row up here somewhere to kind of make an adjustment if that is going to be needed or required. I will have to rate on that when we get there for the pattern. But as I said, it could be that this bag very well is done next time, because my next live is going to be Wednesday next week at the same time as today, because I'll be busy Friday doing me things. But there will be a yarn talk video out on Friday. On Monday, we will have the first edition of the 2026 Sort by Stash series. That is also going to be stocked on Ravelry. Then I'll be back Wednesday with a live for you guys. Around 2 p.m. Central European Time, or equally 8 a.m. in the US Eastern Time Zone. And of course, I'll probably be live again Friday next week as well, unless something crazy happens. And yeah, many things to come. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you have watched this live from the very beginning until now, thank you so very much for watching and staying around. And if you have rewatched the live, thank you so much for doing so. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the watches. I had a great time in your company. And I'm going to say, take care and happy crafting until I see you in another video or stream for that sake. Love you all. Bye.